So, let us discuss today, that is 12th January 2016 newspaper. The first article is related to the Rangarajan's improving the investment climate in India. So, he has compared 2015 and 2016 IMF estimates and concluded that the projection for the world and developing economies by the IMF is not very encouraging. In 2016, the projection stand at 3.6 for the global economic growth. For developed countries, it is around 2.2, and developing countries, it is projected at 4.5%. However, India is relatively placed well, but it has its own set of challenges. The major factors globally are going to influence the outcomes include the fall in commodity prices. It means the demand in the Saudi Arabia is going to decrease and all the West Asian countries is going to decrease. On the other hand, US Fed interest rates hike will shift the flow of the capital away from the developing countries. The China's economic situation and its devaluation of currency, they are going to have a spiraling effect or impact on the global economy. And European Union and especially the Greece and all these economies did not still totally recover from the downturn. It is clearly visible in the reduced global economic demand. Now in India, the growth is estimated or projected at 7 to 7.5%. But the major challenges appears to be this. The agriculture is very stagnant, or it is on the other way, it is on the downward spiral. Industry is showing some signs of revival, and even services sector appears to be stagnant. The major concern is the fall in the exports. Though there are different arguments for this, the fall in exports, they shrunk more than 16%. And lack of private investment is another concern. If you see in 2015, whatever the investment flew, it came only from the public sector, that is only public sector enterprises. So lack of confidence among the investors and the stalling of the projects is a major reason for this. So the government's action now has to encourage the public investors to invest, and it has to provide for the policy guidelines and remove the bottlenecks for the flow of the private investments. So, and at the same time, as the exports are falling, India shall create at least domestic demand. So in this context, the India's situation, especially the 7th Pay Commission, it may boost the demand in the market, it may increase the consumption in Indian market, but by and large, the consumption in Indian market is going to be relatively less. So the government is also on the fiscal consolidation path. So in this context, increasing the domestic demand without deviating from the fiscal consolidation path, it is the major challenge before the government. So that is what is the Rangarajan article says. Now, the odd and even formula in New Delhi, to what extent it is successful? If you carefully observe, the air pollution levels based on National Air Quality Index are worse in January in New Delhi. It shows that odd-even car formula has a very little impact on the reduction in the pollution. The reasons include, among the particulate matter and other pollutants in the cities, the cars constitute a very less fraction. More than 80% is constituted by the two-wheelers, three-wheelers and the big vans or the trucks. So in this context, the impact odd-even formula has only car in its mind and it has many exceptions to it. And the second thing is, the particulate matter less than 2.5, it comes majorly from thermal power stations and also road dust and also the construction and other industrial factors. So in this context, what can help to reduce this is closing down of the thermal factory and proposed vacuum cleaning of the roads and also taking care or closure of the industries and construction when the quality index goes worse, which is practiced in Beijing. And another thing, the most applauding thing is this. the AAP government's ability to use community organizations to persuade the government, persuade the people. It is clearly visible over here that the people have willingly followed the Oddeven formula in spite of the restraints placed onto their movement. And the second thing is the IIT Delhi study and also Mr. Chaudhary's study, Soumitra Chaudhary's study, they clearly said the strong fuel standards and influencing the passenger behavior to travel less by personal vehicles. These two factors will reduce the pollutants in the cities. So in this context, India is shifting towards the BS6 norms 3 years early. That is a welcoming sign for us. So it means it may have certain implications towards the automobile policy and improving the petroleum refineries and their qualities. But however, it will give us the cleaner cities. So in this context, development of the public transport, behavioral change, and finally bringing in better fuel standards can reduce the sulfur, nitrogen oxides and also the particulate matter in the atmosphere. Coming to the Afghan-Pakistan peace talks. Now I can say this is more a hype than reality or hope. You can remember the Murray talks which have happened previously. So in this case, understand initially Karzai government has also initiated the talks with Taliban and Pakistan never supported the Taliban talks initiated by Karzai government. Pakistan is only interested to serve these talks to the extent it serves its purpose rather than creating a stable government in Afghanistan. And second is, there are many internal feuds in the Taliban among themselves. And one faction it wants to come into the talks, especially Mansour's faction. And Mullah Omar's son who recently died, his particular faction is not interested in joining the talks with the government. So there is inter-tribal conflict and leadership crisis which is very strong among the Taliban. And violence and talks cannot exist together. Remember this point. Either it is India-Pakistan or Pakistan-Afghanistan. Violence and talks both cannot exist together. Now recently 2015 is the worst year in Afghanistan with the highest number of incidents of violence. And the next is the Taliban and Afghanistan government agendas, objectives, they contradict with each other. Taliban wants to have Sharia and the re-establishment of Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, reversing the gains of the entire 14 years, whatever the American intervention did. So in these circumstances, so the peace process is going to have a long road. So what is India's stand on this? India is supportive of the peace process if it brings the genuine peace and it is in accordance with the internationally accepted red lines. What these internationally accepted red lines are? One is the Taliban shall accept the Afghan constitution and it shall be an Afghan-led, Afghan-owned process and ceasefire shall be a precondition for the talks. If these three are followed, then Afghanistan shall negotiate with Taliban or engage with Taliban. These are called international red lines. India can accept. India's stand is towards the long-term stability and peace in the Afghanistan. And next is India's strategy for the Near West. 2016, Prime Minister Modi has a huge travel plan, especially towards the West Asia. And West Asia is the most volatile region in the world. But India's interests in the West Asia are very strong because half of our remittance come from West Asia. And the second thing is, India has huge energy dependence on the West Asia. So in this context, India has a huge trust with the West Asian countries as a neutral player. So India shall not involve with the West Asian near politics, but it shall protect its own interests over there. Sending the troops by India is never a solution over there. What India at best can do is, it can, as for the India-United States joint statement on strategic international affairs or strategic vision document, with regard to the South China Sea is concerned. Similarly, it has to intervene as a neutral player in the West Asia. Next is Make in India and defense statement. So if you observe, the defense procurement policy has undergone a sea change now. It means the Make in India is going to have a new fillip over here. The defense procurement policy 2016 given by the Defense Acquisition Council says that the Indian designed products and Indian manufactured products will have a greater fillip. For example, the mandatory 40% domestic content or domestic design or a local content of 60% if the design is foreign. These will be given a special status towards the defense procurement. So it means a new category will be brought in that is called indigenously designed. So this indigenously designed will have two separate categories. One is 40% domestic content and domestic design or 60% of local manufacturing. And the Department of Defense Production will fund the research and development in the private sector. And offset policy, previously it was like this. Any contract greater than 300 crore, 30% of its value shall be reinvested in India, manufactured in India. Because of this, the defense procurement cost went by 16 to 17% up. Now this 300 crores limit is raised to 2000 crores. So the offset policy, recently, with offset policy certain changes have come up if you can recollect them. The services, that is refitting etc. which has been done in the country, that also been considered as a reinvestment or value addition in our economy. So previously, before that, only manufacturing of the parts is been considered as a value addition. Now service of the vehicles etc. is also considered as a value addition. And we give huge importance to the bidding process. The lower bidder gets the contract. Because of this, we are losing on efficiency. Because we are buying a cheaper product rather than a quality product. So now, weightage has increased for the efficiency of the product. So these are the changes which are brought in India's Make in India policy. And next is droughts in India. There are no more droughts in India with regard to the change in IMD's nomenclature. So it is going to give specific definitions for each and everything. So heat wave, if it is greater than 45 degrees C, if it is greater than 4.5 degrees C above usual temperature in the region. Severe heat wave, it means that 47 degrees C. Severe cold wave, it is minimum temperature is 2 degrees or lower. Now cold wave, it means less than 4.5 degrees of the usual temperature. And similarly, it has also defined the rainfall. So it is going to may, might, these kind of unpredictable terms are being replaced with likely, unlikely, very likely, most likely. Similarly, normal rainfall, below normal, above normal, and deficient year. So these are the new nomenclature increased. This can be a question for your prelims. Please focus on this area. So thank you very much and all the best.